Captain's Log Supplemental. On the way to our next mission in the Rigelia system, we detected a small craft drifting through deep space, and we were intrigued when we identified it as originating from Earth. Upon recovering the small craft, we discovered a fascinating trend. There were multiple small breaches in the craft at hull plate intersections, insufficient power generation, and overall lack of quality on the materials used. The craft had an old computer on board that had a number of personal logs and communications stored on it. I have been reading through them and found info on the captain of this small craft. I'd hoped to find what emergency or desperate mission this man had needed to assist with that caused him to venture into space so unprepared. However, the more I read, the more baffled I became. There were multiple communications from experts in spacecraft telling him that his ship design would not hold up in space, and every time he just hand-waved them away, stating they were being overcautious and that he knew better. And he wasn't embarking on some important mission, this was a pleasure cruise. Some idiot with too much money thought he knew better than every industry specialist on how to build a ship. The last file was a brief recording of the captain saying how smart he was after the initial launch, immediately followed by hull breaching and venting of the atmosphere. The unadulterated hubris of this man was astounding.
Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Captain's Log Supplemental. My name is Rob. I am joined by my friends / co-host / producer, Chris.
Yep.
Stanford.
That's me.
And Mariah.
Hi there.
So for the uninitiated, Captain's Log Supplemental is a Star Trek rewatch podcast. We are marching ahead in chronological order. We are still on Enterprise, although we are in the last season now.
Woohoo!
Which I think we're all kind of relieved about at this point. Although,
just,
I will say the last couple of seasons have been better.
No matter what you think about Enterprise, I'm glad we have something else up next. Something new, you know?
Yeah, technically it is part of New Trek,
man.
So
Just
that'll be interesting.
Imagine how bad it's going to be when we get through that, 7 years of fucking Next Generation.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Although there will be some DS9 interspersed.
Yeah,
there
the
at
last
the end.
3 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Voyager fully after?
Nope.
DS9
TNG? Does not run by itself ever. Oh yes, it is fully after TNG, but it is not fully after DS9. They're concurrent shows.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I know there's a little bit of Maquis stuff going on there.
Yeah,
I figured, and Dominion War, I guess.
The Voyager stuff doesn't really touch the Dominion War. They kind of scoop before that really gets kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but yeah, how are you guys doing this week? Any fun banter?
Heard a lip smack. I think Chris has banter.
I don't really, although I did see a TikTok video that I just don't know. Do you ever see a video you just don't know what to do with?
Yeah, I usually send them to the group.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm scrolling through, and it's just a man completely covered waist up in mayonnaise, holding a jar of mayonnaise, going, mayonnaise, 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 mayonnaise. And then he dips bread in the mayonnaise and eats the bread mayonnaise combo.
Wait. Hang on. Does he dip the bread and the mayonnaise in the jar or on himself?
No. Not on himself, in the jar.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be ridiculous, Rob.
That would be insanitary.
All right. That's fucking weird, so I'm going to pivot.
Yep, that's a good call. It's a good call.
So on Sunday, I had a near-death experience. We were driving to my in-laws, and we were coming from Lancaster. And, I've been to my in-laws a bunch of times, but we never come from this direction. Or I guess, was that Sunday? No, it was Saturday. And we're going down this hill. Speed limit down this hill is 35 or 40. I don't remember which, but I was going the speed limit. I remember that because I had I was set. And as we get to the bottom of this hill, it's going to cross an intersection, and then the speed limit drops to 25. Okay, great. As we're about to approach the intersection, Mariah goes, oh shit, you don't know. And then we hit the intersection, and it's like one of those intersections that everyone who lives in the town knows that you can't take at speed because it's like a bump.
Oh, did you hit the old ka-chunk?
Well, turns out brakes don't work in midair. So we hit the bump, and then we hit like the divot, and then we're up the other side. We're in midair for a second, and long enough for me to go, fuck, I don't think we're touching the ground right now. We hit the ground, the like hard enough that like the rear view mirror fucking gets fucked up, and like coffee goes everywhere and shit. And because of how I like drive, like my hands are locked in these kind of like hand controls, but it was such a severe bump that my hand fell out. So I'm getting hold of the steering wheel. So there's a little bit of like back of
panic.
Swerving is a strong word, but I was definitely like swizzling back and forth inside the lane to get control of this car. Anyways, no problem. I stayed cool as a cucumber. Mariah, after the initial "oh fuck you don't know," stayed quiet. We just got it under control. We're fine. In the backseat, though, Liam lost his goddamn mind as his soul left his fucking body. This kid was screaming, unstopping, like a horror movie, like werewolf victim. Like the werewolf's coming, and the actor is just for like 30 solid seconds.
That is a core memory to him now. He will bring that up to you in 40 years.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? Like, because he was on his Switch, so he wasn't even like cognizant of what was. So he was basically on his Switch, worse. Feels a big bump, looks up, and like all the things in the cabin are like floating around him and shit from the lack of gravity.
Nice.
Yeah, so Stanford pointed out tonight, Chris, MechWarrior 5 Clans just released.
Oh, yeah. We still want to play it.
Yeah, know what we're going to be doing. Hopefully this weekend.
Hopefully on Sunday. My Sunday evening is kind of in the air because like it's Rhinebeck weekend, so Mariah and them will get back Sunday. I will prioritize obviously playing a like giant mech warrior game, but also like not if it's going to be a divorce. That's not going to work. So
what? Oh, I didn't understand the first part. What Rhinebeck? What?
Mariah. I don't know, Mariah, if you want me to explain it or do you want to go for it?
So in the fiber knitting crochet community, Rhinebeck is the biggest fiber festival weekend of the year. It's it's in Rhinebeck, New York. It is the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and knitters from everywhere flock to this event wearing their handmade sweaters that I'm currently finishing.
That is the knittiest thing I have ever heard. Also, Fiber Festival, not to be confused with Fire Festival. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Well,
which is funny.
It's funny. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because last year there was, so the New York Sheep and Wool Festival is just like your regular old like farm festival. We have a bunch in Pennsylvania. There's a Maryland Sheep and Wool. There's a New Jersey Sheep and Wool. But knitters discovered this, and it's in New York. It's in the fall, the foliage. It's perfect sweater weather. So I feel like the knitters just like took over this festival. So we call it Rhinebeck. And it's such a big event for us that there are satellite events that happen around it. So stuff that happens like Friday night and Saturday night, even stuff on Thursday. So last year there was a festival called Woolen Folk. And it was such an absolute shit show that we call it the Fiber Festival, but with a Y.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, and because of that debrief that I got last year, like that was like, oh man, hopefully
you're like looking forward to it this year.
Well, but also it's like, well, I mean, if Ryan comes home and is like, yeah, no, the festival, the con went great, everything's fine, then it's like, oh, okay, well then, like, you know, it's nice to see you. I'm gonna go play the robot game. But if she's like, I've got shit to tell you, sit your fucking ass down, it's like, all right, Chris and Rob, I'll see you on Wednesday.
The plan is not to have any drama. I would
no
like
drama
this
llama?
to be very relaxing. Yes, no drama llama. There will be llamas.
And
Hopefully not
alpacas.
drama. And alpacas. Lots of sheep, goats.
Rabbits.
Anyway, if people listen to this podcast and they went to Rhinebeck, you should say hi. This will come out after Rhinebeck.
100% after.
Hi.
Yeah, like not even
You can
close.
I meant like you can say hi in the comments.
Yeah.
Like, hi, I'm a knitter.
All right. Well, when we dive into this week's episode then. This week's episode was Season 4, Episode 2 of Enterprise, Stormfront, Part 2. It's a continuation of last week's episode. We get a very fun, like, opening with, like, news on parade from the 40s.
No, that's not the opening. Excuse me, sir. First, we got an ad for Lower Decks Season 6 or whatever the fuck that's coming out October 24th, and I'm very excited.
Oh, my! I gotta tell you, this reminded me. The boys stayed with one of their grandfather and grandparents' house, and Grandpa apparently showed them some Lower Decks.
Jesus Christ, what? Was
I
he
questioned
like,
it.
it's
but
animated, it must be for kids. Like, what the
Yep.
fuck?
Yeah, they're like, "What's that one that drinks your bones?" I'm like, "Boopsie."
Oopsie.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that guy
just
was
ignore
chock
the
full of
doctor.
bones.
Yeah, they very much enjoyed it.
Was that show not appropriate for kids?
Probably not, no.
I mean, there's a lot of it that is, and there's a good amount that isn't.
It's not like, it's not as bad as like Family Guy, but
Right.
it gets there sometimes.
Definitely some more adult themes.
I mean, like, they say the word fuck. Like,
They bleeped out curses, apparently.
oh, that's right, they do
Yeah.
bleep out curses, but like, it's more of a
Yeah.
joke.
Right.
Like, that's what I was saying. Like, it's always the doctor that's like cursing up a storm and talking about getting spicy with shacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man, that's exciting. I love Lower Decks. Such a good show.
So good.
Back in Enterprise Land, we get the news on parade. So we see Hitler in Times Square. Apparently, this was like an edited copy of Hitler's speech in Paris.
Right.
Which-
Yeah.
Now I feel bad because it was probably going to be a fun facts with Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's fine. You just steal my thunder. It's okay.
Yeah, I was getting my song ready and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently Adolf did a little media tour around the city, hit some other major landmarks like Times Square, the Statue of Liberty, which is often, associated with Nazi Germany. It's super weird kind of hearing like a World War II American propaganda newsreel with Nazi leanings to it.
Right.
It was actually pretty well done. I'm not gonna lie.
It
I
was.
actually found this little bit kind of fun.
Yeah, there was actually one part I also did read for the Fun Facts with Chris.
Oh,
There was one clip in there that was actually a American Nazi party, like real actual
Yes.
1930s meeting of
that was
the
the
American Nazi
that was
party.
the march on Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, crazy. Oh, yeah. Didn't they have wasn't there an actual rally in Madison Square Garden?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was
That's what
from.
the
It was
footage
called
was
the
from.
mass
Yep.
Okay.
demonstration for true Americanism, which I mean that's
Oh,
pretty
boy.
similar to something else going on right now. If I'm not,
what?
No
Don't get
way.
political. No. Oh god.
Speaking of political, Faith of the Heart.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
Transitions, woo!
Yeah. Act 1 kicks off with another shot of the White House guarded by the Yag Tigers out front. Vosk is visiting the unnamed German general there. Germans are worried about a potential counteroffensive from the Americans. He starts questioning Vosk's loyalty to Germany after he refuses to hand over all the fun weapons he's been showing them videos of. Vosk, of course, brushes off the general's complaints about delays, and then threatens him with, like, well, maybe I'll take my plasma cannons and go show it to the Allies then. And warns that he can just erase the Germans from history, which...
Yeah, he specifically said he was
Oh,
going to
boy.
erase that guy from history.
Yeah, that
Like-
specific guy. Yeah,
Like this,
he's like-
this alien punked this Nazi down pretty fucking hard.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, he out-Nazi'd the Nazi. Back aboard Enterprise, Alicia's checking out the quarters of one of the fallen ensigns, which seems morbid. She's upset to learn that there's still war in the future. Archer sort of offers to drop her off anywhere she wants, outside of German influence, inside German influence. But of course, Alicia wants to go back home and continue fighting the Germans. She also asks Archer to use Enterprise to just, disintegrate Berlin off the face of the planet, but he turns her down. Alicia also shares Stanford's concerns with using the, and I quote, dissolver thing.
Yeah.
Turns out that the Nakul have good intel on Enterprise. They know that they were surprised that they were transported back in time, and they also don't have time travel tech. So they start plotting that they could potentially use that information against them. Meanwhile, they keep working on the conduit in the background, and it suffers a short out. So, naturally sparks fly everywhere, but totally fine.
That's how tests work,
Yeah. The sparks are, just show anyway. Vosk reveals that he has no intentions of giving the Germans any of the advanced weaponry that they were showing off to them, and orders his officers that Trip and Travis get thrown back into their cell, where an invisible Silic is waiting on the ceiling for them.
I was surprised at the amount of ceiling troops that happened in this episode, if I'm honest.
It's the same one every time.
Right, but like multiple sequences, so therefore troops.
Yeah. Multiple Silics. Back aboard Enterprise, Reed fills to Paul and Archer in on the alternate timeline that this history seems to be following. It sounds like there was no Bolshevik revolution in Russia, thanks to, I think it was Lenin got assassinated, right?
I'm not as up on my Bolshevik history, but I thought Lenin came to prominence after the Bolshevik Revolution was successful. I don't know that Lenin, started it, right?
Yeah, but if he wasn't there, it would have. Well, yeah, I guess that's with
they
how they
couldn't find another
it,
guy.
Everybody knows Lenin. Sure. I'll just say his name.
If I remember correctly, he was one of the driving forces. It was him. Stalin was one of his lieutenants. There was another guy who was also one of his lieutenants.
Well, and if there's one thing I know about Stalin, is he definitely wouldn't be the kind of guy to step up and just take control. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely not. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Although they're very much like. Well, then obviously it was different people that went to 916 because these guys are here, and I'm like, that logic doesn't work. Why wouldn't you don't know that they could have gone to 1916 first and then come here?
Very true. So yeah, what Reed was saying was because of the lack of a Bolshevik revolution, Germany never had to worry about their Eastern Front, which I don't think is really what the problem was, because I'm trying to remember my World War II history, but didn't Hitler ignore the peace treaty he signed with Russia and just invaded Russia?
Yes. I thought the implication was that they conquered Russia very quickly because the Russians weren't in a position to fight back like they did in the real world. And
okay.
That may have worked because because the reason that Hitler went after Russia was because he needed steel and oil, and Russia's got a bunch of that shit. So that might have worked if he could roll Russia quickly, like was his theoretical plan, and gotten their reserve of steel and oil. Then he would have been able to make a better push to the west too.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right, because if I remember correctly from last week's episode, they had mentioned that they did take Moscow, but the Russians are trying to take it back.
Yeah,
I think you're right. This meeting is interrupted by a call from Vosk. He wants a meeting with Archer and offers up Trip and Travis as bait. Archer, of course, beams down to the forest rendezvous with two Makos for support.
Hell yeah, Makos.
Hell yeah. The Germans unload their prisoners from the back of their truck. Archer has both of them beamed back up to Enterprise to Trip and Travis's dismay. It seemed like they wanted to stay after. I forgot that they didn't know that Archer was alive yet.
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, fun. Oh, that's right. They don't know he's alive.
Nope.
But we get this whole speech by Vosk about how they see time travel as like a technological tool to improve their lives. And that's an interesting theory. Like like you don't hear that part of time travel science fiction very often. Usually it's like, well, the good guys want to maintain the timeline and the bad guys want to eradicate somebody from time because like they're assholes and that's what they want to do. It's never like, well, we can make our species, like have a more prosperous present if we go in the past and just tweak some stuff.
Yeah, I think because the mechanics of time travel, like, and how past actions affect future things are so scattershot, even within like single pieces of fiction. That
sure.
Like it's hard to. I think it would be hard to make that a interesting,
right? I guess, yeah.
Sci-fi
and I guess
storyline.
Like my point is that like this guy gives a whole speech on like why what he's doing is not that bad. Like he's just like, it's a tool. Like we use it to do stuff. And like, I'm not saying I agree with the ethics of that. I think that's a little shitty, but like it is a more reasoned answer than you usually get from like
bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt very like whataboutism-y to me.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
He was trying to say like, hey, look, the temporal agents also alter history, but they're not as honest about it as I am.
Right. Like, at least I tell you I'm punching you in the face.
That is an argument that is used to support a certain politician in our contemporary time and events.
Tells it like it is.
Yeah. Vosk 2024, man.
Make the timeline great again.
I hate you.
It's no time like the present.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So he tells Archer that he could really use some tech from Enterprise to finish the conduit, and offers to send Archer and the crew back to his time as a reward.
Well, he says like basically like he promises like once, because he's stuck here for whatever reason. He's like, once we're back, I can then unfuck what I fucked with, because his point is that like, well, the 1916 thing doesn't really come up here, but he's saying that he's been helping the Germans win because that is what he had to do in order to get the tech he needed to travel through time again. So he's saying like, I don't have a stake in the Germans. I don't care about them. So if you help me get to the future, I'll come back and unfuck this part of the timeline and you'll be good to go. Which, like, again, I'm not saying that's the right, like, I'm not saying that they should like side with this guy or take the deal, but that is like a surprisingly reasonable agreement that he's proposing for like what these time. Usually it's like, I'll erase you and your ancestors from time forever. Meh. But this guy's like, look, I'm sorry we fucked with your timeline. It was we were kind of desperate, but we can unfuck it once we get back. And like, whether or not he's being truthful is neither here nor there. That is a surprisingly reasonable position to take.
I feel like they did a good job of making Vosk clearly a villain, but not an irrational one.
This is like one of the most subtle villainous, which is weird because he's wearing a Nazi uniform the whole time. Like,
right, like the quintessential, like automatically evil bad guys.
Yeah, I was like, all I'm saying is hear this alien Nazi out. I don't understand.
Hear me out.
Yeah, just remember that in last week's episode, he was also saying, we can make a bioweapon that kills all the non-Aryans.
Well, understanding that, like, maybe he's just like, well, I'll say whatever I need to say in order to get...
He's just trying to rustle them Nazis' jimmies. That's all he's trying to do.
He's going to change it once he gets back to the future anyways.
I hate all of this.
I mean, you should.
Look, the alien Nazi's just asking questions, Rob. He's just asking questions.
Fuck you. Back aboard Enterprise at sickbay, Archer checks in on Trip and Travis. Phlox hands him a data pad and very surreptitiously goes and starts making a call on the wall-mounted communicator. After Archer starts explaining the plan and the problem with just blasting the conduit into little bits, the now obviously not Trip attacks Archer. a grappling match ensues, and Not Trip breaks
Ew.
free.
Silly
by,
putty
like,
trip.
Yeah, turning to Silly Putty.
They
Escapes.
silly puttied too much in this episode. Sula puttied? It was gross.
Sula Putty.
Yep, that's what it is. Sula Putty. Yep.
Sula Putty. I like it. It's a new form of matter, or new state of matter. But Sula Putty Trip breaks free and escapes out into the hallway where he's just gunned down by some Mako's standing guard. The illusion drops and we see Silic laying on the floor unconscious.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pose this question. What is the point of Silic in this episode? He doesn't do anything.
I think that they had him here because they were trying to wrap up the temporal Cold War.
It's like, all right, we got to kill everybody involved.
I guess, so I think kind of to Rob's point, but also kind of anathema to Rob's point, I feel like they had to have Silic here in order to have like a demonstration that Vosk is not on Silic's side of things in this temporal Cold War. Because there was a point where they were talking like he's like, well, he doesn't work with Silic. It's like Silic's like, I wouldn't be with them. It's like, then why the fuck are you here? Like,
right?
Like we're dealing with Vosk. Who are like, why do we care about you?
It's like they just wanted to kill Silic's character. Was that the whole point?
And I'm like, I'm very lost on what the sides of this temporal Cold War are at this point. Like,
do anything. He didn't do anything.
I think that was the other goal that they had to here, was to show that there were more than just the two sides that they were aware of.
We never find out who Silic's guy is. Yeah. Or why he's doing shit.
Yeah. Well, again, it's funny because in this episode, Archer assumes that Vosk was the benefactor. And that's when they go into that whole like spiel about, I would never work with him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Chris. I genuinely I don't know why Silic is here either.
Yeah.
Wrapping up loose ends.
I guess, was it a loose end? I don't know. It's one of those things where,
they could have just not ever introduced him again, and I don't think I would have ever thought about his character.
and all they could have said was, are they working with the Suliban? And Voss would be
one throwaway line.
Fuck the Suliban, those simple-minded fools or whatever. And then, that's the end of the conversation. And, it's like, oh, okay, Vosk is some other dude. Whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
I think what this shows me is that no one really thought out this whole temporal Cold War thing. And even in the wrap-up, it feels just like a throwaway fucking label for shit.
Yep.
I think they thought that it sounded cool on paper, and they weren't really sure how to...
The phrase temporal Cold War does sound cool. I will give them that.
Yeah. I mean, it was like in I remember reading stuff written after the original Star Wars trilogy when everybody was talking about the Clone Wars and how crazy they were. And then we got 2 movies about it, and it was
I don't know what people thought was going to be
great.
I don't know what people thought that was going to be.
I don't know either. Anyway, back on Earth, we get Alicia treating Sal's buddy's injury, young Chris Christie. He survived.
I was like, Jimmy the Chin gets suspicious of the black lady.
Yeah, he steals the communicator that Archer gave her from Alicia's jacket. He is very suspicious of their miraculous getaway after being cornered by the Nazis in that alley.
Although he is very suspicious for about 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's good.
Yep.
Well, I think that's because she starts spilling the beans about everything. But,
we'll let the cat out of the bag. Spill those beans.
Yeah. Back on Enterprise, Archer visits Silic in the break.
Intimidating Archer.
Mm-hmm.
How many Archer talks to dude in holding cell scenes that we got? It feels like a lot.
It's got to be at least 6, right?
And how many of them has he tried to wring their neck or slam them against a wall at this point?
At least 6.
Yeah, literally all of them.
I think maybe did he body fucking Degra at all? Probably. Yeah, probably at least 6.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Maybe I think maybe the only one he
Although,
didn't get physical was
he
with
grabs
what's-her-face.
Silic's neck.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh,
ew,
God, it
don't
looks
touch that.
uncomfortable.
Oh God, don't touch that skin.
I know. Oh, God, it's so gross.
Also, one of the worst written lines of this show happened here.
What was it?
Oh, which was that?
Archer's like, I don't know, he's being intimidating or whatever. And then at the end, Silic says, "You've changed, Captain." And Archer goes, "And not at all for the better." And I'm not even sure that was supposed to be Archer's line, because that doesn't make any fucking sense as a response to that. But like,
No, it does.
what?
Well, like, because Archer was complaining in the episodes leading up to the end of season 3 that like he feels like he's done horrible things.
Yeah,
in
and
the
he
pursuit of
specifically said
protecting
he
Earth.
would never do it again.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah, sure
he was
did, didn't
denied.
he?
He was denied his ticker tape parade.
But then he
and
took
his
a
cake.
light. He took a light jog from an explosion, and now he's an asshole again.
Yeah.
Such a light jog. Oh man, at the end they replayed that clip too. I'm like, oh, he's light jogging.
Yeah. So Silic's got this disc on him that they recovered after they shot him. It's got the schematics for the conduit that Vosk is building. Archer sort of like reasons through some of Silic's plans and demands to know where Trip is. Cue the cut to Trip, bound in a hallway back in Vosk's facility. Vosk once again calls up Enterprise. His engineers found traces of Silic's espionage because apparently you leave behind temporal fingerprints.
It was Sulaputty. He left bits of Sulaputty behind.
Sulaputty,
yeah.
Sulaputty has a temporal signature on it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so he realized that Silic stole a bunch of data from them, and he wants that disk back. Archer refuses, so Vosk starts blasting.
With his like badass looking German plasma cannon.
Yeah, it looks like a Flak 88 that was converted into a plasma artillery.
This will not be the
cool.
last Verwaffen fucking conversion that we'll see this episode.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so the artillery cannon's surprisingly effective. Knocks out Enterprise's weapons, damages their engines. They make a getaway, and then we go back to Silic, who, of course, offers to help Archer destroy the conduit. I love the jacket and polo they give him in this next scene. Because, like, he still has the Suliban makeup on.
Man,
but he's wearing,
just like a striped shirt.
I will-
clothes.
I will say this, like, I know he wasn't useful, but Silic was probably the best character in this episode. He was fucking funny the whole time.
He was funny.
He
Yeah,
made me
was
laugh
funny.
because at one point he's like, thanks, because T'Pol's like, we know how to shut down the shields around the compound thanks to the data from Silic, and Silic's like, "You're welcome," and they're all like, "All right, douchebag."
He's got a lot of good one-liners this episode. I liked him a lot. Alicia was very good, and young Chris Christie. They're the heroes of this episode.
Mm-hmm. Not evil Frasier though. That guy can suck my dick.
Evil Frasier.
Yeah, the bad Nazi, which is a weird thing to have to say.
Oh,
But he looked like oh my god, was that Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey
he looked like a mean Kelsey Grammer. So I was calling him Evil Frasier the whole time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so on their way out the door, Archer tells T'Pol that she can move in and fire at point blank range if she has to. I guess we're not worried about influencing the timeline anymore at this point. General German guy is back in Vosk's office. The Americans have started their counteroffensive, and Vosk asks for a 6-hour delay before handing over the slightly modified Stukas, which the general begrudgingly agrees to. He tells his officer, after the general leaves, that we're leaving tonight. And despite the technical problems with the conduit so far, he believes that destiny is on their side and that firing it up one last time will definitely totally work.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. It did work.
It did.
Momentarily.
To his credit, I guess.
Because tonight.
Oh my god. We see Silic and Archer sneaking around after curfew. There's just random gunfire going on in the background through this whole scene, which I don't really understand. I guess it's to show that the Germans are just shooting people.
I assumed it was the resistance fighting the Germans. I don't know.
Silic remarks that he once thought humans were inherently unaggressive, and we get the little background story about how the Suliban were once actually rescued by Daniel's temporal agents because Vosk's people had
wiped them from history.
Yeah, yeah.
He basically
did something to
he
make
basically
sure that they didn't attain sentience. Or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yep.
So they stumble across Alicia and young Chris Christie standing next to an oil drum.
Fucking Jimmy the Chin here is fucking funny. He's like, what are we hunting next? The Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah. He was really good. Back aboard Enterprise, Reed fills T'Pol in on some of the updates from the war. Notes that, the Americans are pushing back through Pennsylvania towards New York. And fills her in a little bit on Enterprise's repairs, which, this feels almost like a running gag at this point. Like, the ship is held together with duct tape. Like, it is in desperate need of actual repairs.
Duct tape and bubblegum.
Yep. Back in New York, young Chris Christie let slip that Alicia filled him in on Archer having a spaceship and all that. Silic asks Archer if he really needs these people, which offends Christie, and Christie then threatens to punch Silic in the face. Alicia kind of breaks the tension by guaranteeing her help for Archer and says that Chris Christie needs to rethink if he's either going to help her or not even really bringing Archer and Silic into the equation. Back in their secret evil Nazi lair, Vosk gives the rest of the Nakul a speech about making history theirs. Everybody raises their fists, and I think they were swords.
They were like guns. They were like rifle things.
Although very pointy.
These aliens got real weirdly Nazi adjacent all of a sudden.
I mean, they've been Nazi adjacent. They're wearing Nazi uniforms.
Right, but it was always like, they're doing their own thing. They're just using the Nazis to do it. But now it's like, we're doing our own thing. And that thing is Time Nazi.
So Archer and the mobsters burst through a German checkpoint and advance on Vosk's facility in a very old car. I don't even know what model that was, but it was kind of funny to watch.
Over the course of these next few scenes, did you see how many mobsters got shot?
I don't remember any of them being shot.
It was none. Correct. They have a 10 or 15 high pile of dead Nazis, and none of them even got winged.
Also, Carbine continues to be the best shooter of all time.
Oh my god, he's incredible.
Oh yeah.
You know who's the worst shooter of all time? No. That German that ran out after his two buddies were shot with a pistol just to get shot a little further up for some reason. I don't know what that guy was thinking.
The best part here is Alicia and her friend, more of the Resistance friends show up, right? And freaking Carbine is like, oh, thank God the cavalry's here. We almost couldn't hold them. And it's like, dude, you have been mowing down Nazis for the last 30 seconds.
He kind of points that out at the end when he's like, I was just having fun because Nazis are just coming out of the fucking door and they're just shooting them dead. It's so fucking stupid.
Silic goes and does more of the Suligu melt trick to get through an open air vent because apparently you can't open this door from the outside for some reason. Back on the inside, Vosk receives word about the insurgents fighting Germans and says, let the Germans handle it, which they are not doing.
They're doing very bad.
Yeah, it's very
Although, I guess to their credit, the insurgents never entered the building, so success?
True.
Yeah, they were too busy at the Nazi shooting gallery. I'm going to win me a stuffed bear. Bow, pow, 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 pow.
Archer and Silic do find the control console for the conduit. Still no sign of Trip yet. Archer finishes his work disrupting the conduit, but they're spotted by Germans after an alarm starts to sound, because that's definitely what happens when I turn off my computer.
No, what they shut down was not the generator. They shut down the shield to the building.
Right.
So okay. I did kind of make sense that there's an alarm. Sure. This is where the Germans show up. Apparently Nazis also can't handle ceiling troops because Silic gets the drop on them.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
But then, like, Archer totally watches a guy come up and shoot Silic 3 times before taking care of him. Like, you can watch it in Archer's eyes as he's like, that guy's about to shoot Silic. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, I should deal with that. Like...
He's like, nope, according to plan that went. According to plan.
There was definitely a level of like, I mean, oh no, don't kill Silic, no.
He definitely had just refused giving him a weapon, so, I mean.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Silic gets shot in the process of trying to obtain a gun, which, back in Vosk's office, the German general shows up to retrieve his squadron of fighters one last time. Vosk instead demands that the squadron be destroyed. The general then says, well, I'm just going to take over command. So Vosk just shoots him.
I like how the general's armed guards take like too long to get their guns to work. Like, why do you even have guns? Like, what's the point of an armed guard?
The most incompetent guards.
Fucking Nazis,
They're like,
man.
oh no, this weird alien guy refused orders and shot my boss.
The wildly weird alien dude.
I could have not seen this coming in a million years. I was too relaxed.
They did not see that coming. Although, speaking of Nazis, turns out Reed is secretly one because nobody like readily identifies a Stuka like that.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
He had the hugest nerd boner for
anyone
for
who's
plane.
that into the fucking Luftwaffe is like that's a red flag, and that red flag's got a very specific symbol in the middle of it.
Yeah. Is it a circle with a swastika in it?
Yes.
Cool. Back on the floor of the facility, Archer just watches Silic die there. His injuries were apparently too much for him to regenerate, and then Trip steps out of the shadows and threatens to shoot Archer, thinking that he's Silic.
Archer's like, he's over there.
Archer tries 3 separate one-liners here. And so my note is, oh, hell, no one is as not funny as you. Must be the real captain. Like, because none of them are good jokes.
No. Archer manages to win him over by pointing out that Silic is dead on the ground behind him.
See that over there? I didn't even try to help him.
I watched him get shot. I watched the guy come up to him before he got shot and didn't even warn him. Yeah.
Archer gets outside with Trip and warns the mobsters about Enterprise coming in to just completely annihilate this entire building. Alicia asks Archer to fix all of the messed up history and then bids him a second goodbye that she says is more difficult than the first. I guess I don't even know why you would be sad to see Archer go away. This next scene is the one you were talking about. So Reed bores to Paul with the technical specs of historical Stuka fighters. Turns out these ones were upgraded with plasma cannons, though, so none of that matters. Enterprise starts taking fire.
It wasn't uncool watching the Stukas with the lasers on them. It's a pretty cool looking plane.
They didn't even do the dive bombing Stuka noise.
Well, because they're not going to dive bomb from there. The fucking automatic air brakes wouldn't trigger till like a couple hundred feet off the ground. It'll have hit the Enterprise by then. Anyway, so I was on the Wikipedia page for the Stuka earlier today.
Yeah, so Enterprise starts taking fire right as the conduit starts to form below.
I feel like not enough of a big deal was made about the fact that the Enterprise apparently just can be in atmosphere.
It was kind of cool seeing it like flying around in old New York City. Like the guy doing the CG must have had fun with this one.
Like, I don't know. I assumed that spindly ass shit couldn't handle being in an atmosphere, especially broken.
Yeah.
It's not like they have shields. Like, those holes in the hull, there's a draft right now. Like,
No, they just polarized what was left of the hull. It was fine. The magnetism will hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
The Enterprise opens up on the fighters with their own plasma cannons and moves into position above the facility. Enterprise drops off some photonic torpedo deliveries for the Nakul right before Vosk attempts to step through. And then, it screams when he realizes that he's just going to get blasted by torpedoes.
I believe he screamed because based on the warping effect, I think he's getting all fucked up like Daniels was at the beginning of this story. Because it looked like his face was getting all contorted. Although it's like
Gross.
2004 CGI contorted, so like it could have been anything.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Daniels is back and healthy.
Yeah,
And
Archer
not
got sent to
broken.
the DVD menu dimension.
Yeah.
The timeline's DVD menu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny because when Daniels died this last time, I was like, oh, I guess Daniels is dead for real this time now. No. Which makes me wonder, like, is Silic actually dead?
That is a question that is posed on the Memory Alpha page that does not have an answer.
Oh, okay.
We never see these people ever again.
Nope.
Excellent.
This was the wrap up.
Yeah, he gives Archer his hypothetical pat on the back for his help. Lets Archer know that the temporal Cold War is now coming to an end thanks to his and his crew's help.
I have a question.
Sure.
And, like, maybe I just missed it, or... Anyways. Why these people?
By which people?
Why did Daniels need Archer to do this?
So, either Vosk or Silic in this episode brought it up in a piece of dialogue. I think they just happened to be in the right place at the right time for him to grab.
They have time travel. That's not a thing that happens.
Anytime time travel comes up, there's so much hand waving of logic fallacies.
But I've had this issue since the beginning of the fucking temporal Cold War nonsense. Is why the fuck would Daniels ever recruit these bumbling assholes to do anything?
Daniels has said he has a history crush on Archer specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he mentions that the first time you see him come back after his
Oh man, you know what? I just realized what the greatest like unwritten Star Trek episode would be like 2 hours, like a 2-hour special.
Daniels Archer fanfic?
No. Well, okay, I have two ideas now. No, it's Daniels trying to fix the timeline, but keeps getting Archer killed until he gets it right.
Oh, it's like that episode of Supernatural with the trickster. And
I feel like you just want to see Archer die a bunch.
Yes, exactly. Like, I want to see Daniels fuck it up until he gets it right. It'd be like Live, Die, Repeat, only instead of Tom Cruise, it's Archer and Daniels, like, being disappointed in his hero the entire time.
Like, I don't know, man. This almost makes me... Like, I know I joked about Daniels being, like, Archer's Q before, but I kind of wonder if that's really what this is. Like,
I don't know. I don't think Q has access to the DVD menu like Daniels does.
No, he definitely does. He brings
and I know you've said this before, but Q is like
stupid. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, his intentions aren't the same.
No,
like he's
no.
Like, I just feel like regardless of what kind of
tool,
regardless of what kind of history boner you have for Archer, I feel like if you really want a successful mission, then Daniels could have picked almost anyone, and they would have done a better job.
Should have used Picard.
I said almost anyone.
Should have used Pike.
Like younger Picard, not like Picard.
Oh, sure,
Picard.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got access to the whole timeline, remember?
Actually, if you want to make a good show, get a fucking dream team together. Like you get like Hot Spock and then like Tom Paris and like Riker or some shit. Like you get like a time heist team together to go save the timeline.
Oh, like our heist potpourri we did the other week.
Yeah.
Which is hot? Is Kelvin Hot Spock or like?
Oh no, I was going with Strange New Worlds Hot Spock because Kelvin's a different. Yeah, Kelvin's already in their own timeline.
Okay, you said Hot Spock and it doesn't narrow it down.
I acknowledge that Zachary Quinto is also Hot Spock, but I was specifically, I believe Mariner calls Hot Spock like Strange New Worlds is Hot Spock. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we close this week with Daniels giving him one last heartfelt goodbye, and then he steps in through the time tunnel thing that they're like watching a highlight reel of the 1940s on. Archer steps back onto the bridge of Enterprise with the rest of his crew. Hoshi calls Starfleet and actually gets a response back this time.
Well, what she says is they're all calling in, and then she lists like 16 things. So I guess like, did everyone like see the Enterprise show up and they're all like, oh, I know, no one's going to think of this. I'm going to send them a fucking message and see if they get back to me. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's like a radio sweepstakes where like everybody's calling in to be caller number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so they do find themselves in the right time again, and a fleet of human, Vulcan, and I think it was what's his face's ship from the
Was Shran's ship there?
No, I don't think it was Shran's ship. It was the other one that Archer borrowed.
Dagra?
Dagra. I think it was Dagra's ship.
Also.
Where was this fucking fleet?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Two things. One, that 100% that. Like where the fuck were these ships?
When the Xindi attacked with a single ship and a huge target, where was this fleet?
Right.
Yep.
Two. Stanford. Play the music.
It's fun facts with Chris.
Yeah. All right. In the top left of that scene, where you see all the ships coming in.
Oh my god, this is gonna get extra dorky.
Yes, it is. There was a NX class refit design included in the background as a bit of an Easter egg. Apparently, in the novels, the Enterprise undergoes this specific refit shortly after the outbreak of the Earth-Romulan War. The refit NX class becomes known as the Columbia class. The refit added a secondary hull that housed a larger, more powerful warp reactor and a larger navigational deflector, which increased the ship's maximum speed to warp 6.2. The NX class refit became canon with Star Trek Picard in 2020 in Hide and Seek, where a model of the refitted NX class was among the items on Picard's desk, and the refit of the NX-01 was shown in the Federation Fleet Museum in The Bounty.
So I take it he replaced all of his little ships then?
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking dork.
Well,
No, I definitely did not catch that because I was rolling my eyes too hard.
Yeah.
So, on a scale of 1 to 5, where 0 is threshold, how do you guys rate this week's episode?
It's a 3. This was a Star Trek episode. The end.
I feel like it's one of those things where like I feel like it should be a 3 if it was like a standalone, but I almost want to be like, well, but it also was the second part to a dumb episode too. So like maybe it should be a 2, but then like I don't know, Silic was kind of funny and
yeah, there wasn't anything like bad necessarily.
It was just kind of like okay, we're getting through this. Here we go. Let's go. Let's wrap it up. So yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, we just had to hit all the things, wrap up the lines.
It's just standard Star Trek bullshit.
Yeah, I also gave this one a 3. There was just too much hand waviness about some of what was going on for me to like really get into it. It kind of like took me out of the immersion at a couple of points. So yeah, I also gave it a 3.
IMDb also gave this a 3.
Interesting. All right, well, we're going to take a little break and come back for a deep dive. Right, welcome back. For this week's deep dive, I thought we could take a look at time travel back to old Earth in Star Trek episodes.
Oh, God. Here we go again with this fucking time travel shit.
Time travel. So yeah, a lot of this is going to be episodes that you get to look forward to in the future, Stanford.
Wee!
Going in order by air date here. So starting with the original series. First episode is Tomorrow is Yesterday. This is the episode where Enterprise gets thrown back to 1969 Nebraska. Scotty underestimates the strength of a tractor beam and rips apart a U.S. fighter jet sent to check out this new mysterious UFO that suddenly appeared in their skies. And Kirk decides to beam the pilot aboard to save him, but then has to figure out, like, how are we going to erase all signs of us being here? They wind up, like, going down to the Air Force Base to try and, like, rip out the radar. I don't want to say footage. I don't know what the right word is, but basically remove any evidence of them having been there. Gets caught by Air Force security while trying to erase it, and like shenanigans ensue. The next one is City on the Edge of Forever. So this is one of the ones that I brought up in the Potpourri last week. In this episode, McCoy accidentally injects himself with cordrazine. It's a made-up drug that they were using to treat a heart arrhythmia that Sulu was experiencing. He overdoses on it and then goes berserk. Beams himself down to a planet that's currently experiencing, and I quote, time ripples.
I think that's what's wrong with. I think that's what's wrong with Silic's face is the time ripples.
Oh yeah, yes, it's all the ripples. They find a talking time portal, which McCoy of course jumps through, and this is the episode. Whenever you see like Star Trek TOS footage where they're like back in the 1930s, this is the episode. They wind up going back to the 1930s. Kirk and Spock kind of like live in a homeless shelter for a few days, start working there to make money. They wind up having to ensure the death of a pacifist, a lobbyer that McCoy saved, and make sure that she dies so that the U.S. will go on to join World War II against the Nazis. After that, the next bit of time travel back to old Earth is the voyage home, Star Trek IV. Save the whales. Earth gets visited by an alien race that only speaks whale, and they refuse to leave until they can speak to a whale.
You know, when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous.
I mean, listen, there's a couple of really weird plots to the Star Trek movie, like V'ger. Yeah, they only speak whale, and apparently they speak it loud enough that it's disrupting Earth's entire atmosphere and causing horrible changes to the climate. So Kirk and crew wind up having to steal a Klingon starship to go back in time via the same slingshot maneuver that they used in Tomorrow is Yesterday, so that they could bring a humpback whale home to talk with the aliens and get it to stop screaming at Earth. Jumping forward to TNG, we get 2 bits of time travel back to old Earth. First one is Time's Arrow. This is a 2-parter. TNG crew gets called back home after Commander Data's head is discovered in a cave in San Francisco, or by San Francisco. They go to investigate. Data discovers that there's some aliens there in a different time phase, and while trying to communicate, gets thrown back to 1893 San Francisco. This is kind of fun because he gets to like buddy up with Jack London and Mark Twain. And it turns out this is the like original era that Guinan was from. Oh, excuse me. So yeah, the Enterprise crew winds up going back, rescues Data. They accidentally bring Mark Twain forward in time with them, and then in some like Star Trek nonsensory, apparently you can trade a Mark Twain for a Jean-Luc Picard, and that's how they get Picard back to real time. The other TNG era one is First Contact, the movie, not the episode. This is the movie where the Borg decide that they need to use some time travel to beat those meddling humans. Picard and crew get thrown back in time with them, meet Zefram Cochrane, and help make sure the historic launch of the Phoenix happens as planned.
So is that the first one, the first travel back to old Earth that is not like, that is still technically in the future?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Huh, interesting. Although, wait, that can't be, well, okay, so that's TNG because it is those people, but like the DS9 episode is probably going to come before that, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, okay.
Speaking of which, DS9. First one is Past Tense, another two-parter. This is the one where they have a transporter accident above the Defiant that throws Sisko, Bashir, and Dax back to August 30th, 2024, just in time for the Bell riots in San Francisco.
Oh man, those were rough. Remember those?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, they accidentally get the eponymous Bell killed when he tries to save their ration cards from a group of thugs that are trying to steal their ration cards. So Sisko has to then pretend to be Bell and make sure that the riots happen and escape after he gets shot. Next up is Little Green Men. So I know you don't really like this one, Stanford, but I thought it was really fun. Quark, Rom, and Nog all get thrown back to 1947 Earth and set off the Roswell UFO incident by accident. Turns out that the shuttle that Quark's cousin gave him had some technical difficulties, and chemosite is dangerous or something. Temporally active, I guess. Also, Odo stowed away because he was suspicious of Quark and kind of found out that he was smuggling said chemosite. But don't worry, running some chemosite through a nuclear explosion fixes it all.
Perfect.
And then last to DS9, we get Far Beyond the Stars. This is probably the best DS9 episode in terms of like actual science fiction, I want to say. So the Dominion War is weighing heavily on Sisko's mind. He begins experiencing hallucinations in which he gets like thrown back to 1953 San Francisco as an up and coming African American science fiction writer. The main cast winds up playing some major parts in his dream where he sort of struggles with all the challenges of being a person of color in 1953 America while also writing his novel Deep Space Nine.
This is a weird one because like it's not actually time travel. It's just like a hallucination. I don't even know is hallucination the right word. He was just like in a fever dream the whole time.
Yeah. There's one more sort of in the same vein that gets brought up for Voyager. I wasn't really sure if I should include it or not. Yeah. So I guess we'll just jump to that one since Voyager's up next. 1159. So this is when Janeway starts looking into the history of her ancestors.
Oh, yes. The whole Millennium Tower thing. Oh, God. What a dumb episode.
Yeah. So turns out that the heroic tales spread by her Aunt Martha weren't entirely true. But don't worry, Neelix throws a party so Janeway doesn't feel bad about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about that episode. Like, I didn't understand the purpose of, like, well, I guess our families are just disappointing unlike we thought. Like, what message are we conveying here?
I don't know. It's also weird that they threw an Ancestors Day, like, because everybody was talking about their ancestors or something. I don't know. I haven't watched Voyager. I read the summary on Alpha, and I'm not looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not great.
One I am looking forward to, though, it actually sounds like it was a good episode. Future's End.
It wasn't, but go ahead.
Oh, all right. Voyager gets attacked by what they think is a Federation time ship. After overpowering the other vessel and destabilizing some graviton field or something, both ships are thrown back to 1996 LA.
Wink.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny when you find out, like, a whole bunch of these were, of course, like, timed so that they could film everything in modern day, you know?
Yeah.
It makes me appreciate more the ones where they weren't, when they were, like, thrown back further in history or something. Moving on to Enterprise. So Carbon Creek, of course. First contact was a lie. T'Pol has an ancestor that visited Earth back in 1957. And it sort of blows up the whole traditional story of how Vulcans first met humans. After that, we had Carpenter Street. Daniels enlists the aid of Archer to stop the Xindi reptilian bioweapon from being thrown into an HVAC system in 2004 Detroit, because we all know HVAC systems are the key to the world, I guess. And this is actually the last one. Stormfront, well, from Enterprise anyway. Nazis were into some weirder shit than even all that occult stuff we learned about in Indiana Jones, apparently. And I don't know. Don't help Nazis. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to go well.
No. After that, Picard, pretty much all of season 2, I found out, happens in 2024 LA. Q sends Picard back for another, like, final test of his humanity or some shit. I don't really know.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's what it is. It's just some Q shit.
Okay. Yeah, I started reading all the episode descriptions and I was like, it's literally every episode. I'm not reading all of these summaries.
Yeah, no, the whole season takes place then.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Strange New Worlds. The episode is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is the one where La'an gets the toy from a time traveler. She winds up going on an adventure with an alternate timeline James T. Kirk rather, to oh no, it was Sam Kirk. No, it was James T. Kirk. It was James T. Kirk.
James T. Kirk.
To 2022 Toronto to save her ancestor Khan, as in Khan, and they get some fun help from Pelia.
And also, they drive a Mercedes because we had to have product placement in that episode.
Sure.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Oh, you were so mad about that.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't know, man. It had to be a car.
No. Like, when we get to it, you'll see. Like, the camera lingers on the logo and shit. It's clear.
Oh,
like,
okay.
There's only one kind of car establishing shot there's only one reason that this one kind of car establishing shot exists, and that's to show you the front of the car. Like, as a product placement.
All right. I'll give that to you. All right. And that wraps it up. That's the last one, going back to Old Earth. There are many other time travel episodes, but these are the ones that go back to Earth.
Interesting.
Hooray.
I don't know. Having heard all the times it happened, it's like, that's too many times.
Interestingly, so I started looking this up, and fortunately there was a very helpful Reddit post that had pretty much all of them. It did note that there was one series where it doesn't happen at all, and that's Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery doesn't really go back in time at all. They only go forward in time.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right. Well, take another break, and we'll be back for some potpourri with Stanford.
Welcome back. So today I got a little bit of a trivia quiz I found. He didn't really show prominently in this episode. So this is truly a kind of unrelated potpourri. But this one is all about how well you know the good Dr. Phlox.
Oh boy.
I did not come up with these questions. I only read a few of them, so it could take a wild turn halfway through this quiz. They are all multiple choice, but y'all are good enough that most of these I will just ask you, and you can just give me the answer. There's a couple that are like, which of these is not such and such, that those ones I'll read. Okay. Keep your own scores, because I've got the quiz and the answers up here, so I'm already scrolling through enough shit, so you can keep your own scores.
How many questions?
Like 10, I think. 15.
Oh my! All right.
Okay.
All right. What do you all do? Do you want to do shout them out? Do y'all do like go back and forth with a steal? What do we want to
do?
We can just like see if we know the answers.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1. What alien race is Dr. Phlox?
It was really funny. I was just going to shout this out as like a guess to the first one. It seemed really obvious.
It's Denobulan.
Denobulan. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Good. Question 2. How many wives did he have?
3, I think.
I want to say 5?
It is 3.
All right.
3 wives, and they are each married to 3 husbands, so... All right, number 3. In the episode A Night in Sickbay, Captain Archer's dog, Porthos, is very sick, and Archer decided to spend the night in sickbay to keep him company. Little did Archer know that he was in for spending the night with Dr. Phlox in sickbay. Which of these was not one of the activities that Dr. Phlox did that prevented Archer from getting much sleep? Dr. Phlox's personal grooming regimen, Dr. Phlox singing opera, him feeding his animals, or capturing an escaped animal?
Opera.
That is correct. Do you remember which specific thing he was grooming?
His toes.
His toenails.
Yeah.
His cliff scalers.
Wasn't it the bat that got out?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right, in that same episode, they have to save the life of Porthos with an operation, replacing his pituitary gland with the pituitary gland of what kind of creature? I don't need the alien planet, I just need the general concept.
Like what type of animal?
Yes.
Okay. I want to say it was like a lizard.
That's what I was going to guess.
I will give someone the point if one of you can be more specific.
A gecko? That's not right.
Chris?
I'm trying to think back now. I mean, salamander?
It was a chameleon.
Chameleon.
Because you made a joke about not being able to see him
Oh,
after
yeah,
the operation.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 5. True or false? A human crew member actively pursued Dr. Phlox for a romantic relationship.
True.
True.
Okay. Bonus point if you can give me the name.
Cutler.
Okay. So, it was Cutler, but also Mako Amanda.
Yeah, and the alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Any of you give me Cutler's first name?
Not Amanda.
That's correct.
I remember Amanda. I think it was Amanda Cole, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What was
we'll
her
call
first?
We'll call that one a wash. It was Elizabeth. Elizabeth Cutler.
Huh. Okay.
All right. So you both got.
I'm
both
sad
got
she
it
never
covered.
showed up again.
Yeah, because she died, Rob. Nicely done.
Oh, shit. That's right.
All right, number 6. When the crew of the Enterprise encountered a black hole that affected everyone adversely, causing various obsessive behaviors, Dr. Phlox almost performed a major surgery on a patient suffering from only a headache. Who was that patient? It is a main cast member, so don't think you have to guess some random ensign.
Wasn't
It
it
was
Travis?
Travis.
Yes, it was Travis. Good job. Question 7. What was the name of the doctor who corresponded with Dr. Phlox?
Ooh. You gonna give us choices for this one or no?
Yeah, I can give you choices because these are all just names.
Yeah.
William Templeton, Simon Pinjot, Jeremy Lucas, or Roger Bannerman?
Wow. I don't recognize any of those. The second one.
I guess the third one.
The third one is correct.
What was this again?
Jeremy Lucas. The role of Dr. Lucas was... Oh, you know what? We may not have actually learned his name because he actually is on screen in a later episode that we haven't seen.
Oh.
So
that's funny.
see if this ends up being the award-winning point for that lucky guess. Over the seasons of Star Trek Enterprise, we learn interesting things about Dr. Phlox and his species. Which information below is true about Dr. Phlox and his species? Though he required very little sleep, he has to hibernate for around 6 days. When Dr. Phlox smiles, his eyes open much larger than their normal appearance. When threatened or startled, the people of his race can emit a very high-pitched sound that is extremely painful. Or Dr. Phlox and members of his species have weak immune systems.
The hibernating thing.
Yeah.
That
He
is
has to sleep
correct.
for like days or something a year.
Okay, true or false, prior to serving aboard the Enterprise, Dr. Phlox had never visited Earth.
False.
False, yeah.
Can you
Part of
give
that,
me a specific?
He was examining the Klingon, like in the first episode.
Yeah, and he was a member of like it's like Starfleet's version of Doctors Without Borders.
Also that.
I forgot that he literally was like on screen on Earth before he was actually assigned to the Enterprise.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he was talking about how much he loved Chinese food.
All right, well, here we go. Prior to boarding Enterprise, what organization had Phlox joined? Give me an exact fucking name, Rob.
Oh, fucking shit.
Starfleet Doctors Without Borders.
I can't remember, man. Starfleet Medical Exchange.
Chris, do you have a guess?
Interspecies medical exchange.
That is correct. That is
shit! Seriously?
Yeah, that was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I was like, Rob was so fucking close.
This is bullshit.
Sound like a complete guess.
All right, Rob, you also got a point for randomly guessing a thing we didn't even know yet. So,
That was the smallest of inklings I had about that. It was not a complete guess, but it was pretty close.
What secondary role did Dr. Phlox eventually fill on the Enterprise? Was it cook, counselor, security chief, or transporter chief?
Eventually, Phil?
I mean, does his work with T'Pol count as being a counselor?
I say the only thing that sounds remotely close is counselor.
That is correct. And actually, Rob, that is the specific citation, yes.
Okay.
Nicely done.
That's a bit of a stretch for that question.
It is. I didn't make these questions, so like, even after I read it, I'm like, this is like a little bit of a stretch. But like, all right, see what they got. That's why I gave you. That's why I give you the options. In the episode "The Breach," we find out that Phlox is estranged from one of his sons. What was the reason Phlox gave for this estrangement?
He was racist against that one alien species that the Denobulans hate, and in turn hate the Denobulans.
This is when I did the deep dive on the Enterprise novels, and we find out that in the Enterprise novels, his kid like winds up getting arrested at his daughter's wedding because he tries to kill people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep, that's right. Good job. All right, an early forerunner of the biobed, what was the main tool at Phlox's disposal within sickbay for the diagnosis of his patients? They actually do not give multiple choice on this.
MRI machine with the table.
The turbo MRI.
I'm going to need like a name for it.
The medical scanning bed.
Yeah. What he said.
That's not right. It's the imaging chamber.
I do vaguely recall them calling it that.
In the third season episode Similitude, Dr. Phlox created a clone of one of the injured crew members. Who was it? Hey,
Trip.
All right, finally, true or false? In the episode The Crossing, non-corporeal beings are able to replace the consciousness of the crew of the Enterprise. As a result, the alien replacing Dr. Phlox tries to take over the ship.
Was that a true or false? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
False.
Yeah, false. It wasn't
Why?
him.
It was Trip.
Because his mind was resistant to it.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
Chris was like, yeah, I want that point too. Yeah, that one.
I answered the question correctly. You can't retroactively take away points from me.
I am the fucking judge. I can do what the fuck I want. You passed the Supreme Court.
And now
but yes, that is correct. He was unable to be non-corporeal. Cool. What are our scores?
12.
I got 11.
So tied without the bullshit point. All right, hold on. Let me see. We get a tiebreaker.
Oh, what if we tell you really fun facts about Denobulans? And you get to pick which one you think is cooler.
I'm
good.
I'm good, thank you. Oh, wait, you have a cool fact about Denobulans, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I learned it when I did my deep dive on Denobulans. Or wait, what if I ask a question and then Chris has to answer it, and if he gets it right, then he wins? And it can be about that fun fact.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Chris. Well, what profession did Phlox's parents want him to pursue prior to him showing interest in his doctorate?
That's a good one, actually.
Oof. I remember this conversation. Man. I don't remember what it was. Like, I gotta think about this for a second.
Okay.
Did they want him to be like a teacher or something?
No.
What
Tattoo artist.
That's so stupid.
You know what's weird, Rob? I don't know if this is what gave you the idea, but right now there is an ad playing on Memory Alpha, and the ad is like clips of all the times Star Trek went to Earth.
That's weird. No,
it's really weird.
Give me the idea.
Like it just showed me. Yeah, it just showed me 2 separate TOS ones and the data, and now it's 1986. Now we're at Save the Whales. What a wildly specific ad to play right now.
That's super weird.
Fucking creepy. I was gonna have you all guess how old he is, but it's never actually established. So we'll just call this one a tie.
What? No, Chris didn't get the answer to my question. Come on, you have to let me win a trivia.
You've won a trivia before. Remember when you rigged it so that you would win?
No, he actually won it on his own ones too, at least.
I think he's you have definitely won it.
One.
All I can say is these online quizzes, y'all are too good for them. Like so.
Cool.
It's good stuff.
We're pros now.
All right. And with that, I think that will wrap another fine episode of this wonderful podcast about this completely terrible show. You can you can find us wherever pods are casted. Go ahead and send us some reviews and some likes. That would be awesome. 5-star reviews because we are 5-star people. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your beloved coworkers, your flings, your one-night stands, whatever you're doing, tell people. Otherwise, we will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.